The webinar is now broadcasting to all attendees.
Okay.
Then what? Should I pause the recording?
Sure.
Okay, I'll pause the recording now.
I went ahead and started y'all's recording, so.
Okay, that's fine. We have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. We have a quorum now, so we can go ahead and, the only thing that we're actually going to be voting on tonight really is the minutes. Does anybody have any corrections? I do. Aaron, can you hear me? She's on mute. So I just want to make sure you get this on agenda item 11. It's Dr. Kira, K-I-R-A, H Banks, not Kyra. So it's Dr. K-I-R-A, H as in Hudson, Banks. And that's the only correction that I have. Being no other corrections, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, approving the minutes wasn't on the agenda, I don't believe.
It
We
was
changed it. We amended it.
It was on the agenda that was posted because I had Katie add it.
Yeah, I
Oh.
amended it.
Yeah, so the agenda
Y'all
that I
did.
sent out was not, but the agenda that was posted on the website included the approval of the minutes.
Okay. All right, so can you repeat how to spell her name? It wasn't in the first meeting, so,
Okay, yeah, it's K-I-R-A.
okay.
It's Dr. Kira, K-I-R-A-H Banks, B-A-N-K-S.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes after that correction?
So moved.
Scott moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Katie seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose the same. Okay, the minutes are approved, so they can get posted. I sent out earlier today. I think I've been on Zoom all day today. I sent out some information so that try to speed up the meeting a little bit or make it a little bit more efficient, so that you know, we could go through the process. Let me find my agenda. And I'm going to share this screen. I'm not going to share the agenda. The first thing is to finalize the survey, but I'm going to go ahead and share the survey. Can everybody see it?
Yep.
And so what I did is I went back to one of the older surveys that we had put together. And I know that we had talked about including some of the demographic data at the top of the survey. And I added, after thought, I added income range as a demographic marker. So again, these age ranges, does anybody have any issues with those?
Not with the age. I think race should say race/ethnicity because you can get in arguments about that, in my opinion. Latino is gender, not gender neutral.
How's that?
Should be Latinx. Latinx is the proper, because that's a male term.
So,
Um,
Latine, how do you, IX?
it could just be X or
Yeah, like Latinx,
Yep,
right?
right.
Like it is now?
Yeah.
I'm correcting as I go. So
Yeah.
can you guys see it as I correct it?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah. That's all I saw there on the first one.
okay.
If you guys agree.
I just threw out these income levels, so,
How
Jeannie,
about
how
prefer,
important do you think it is?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there any argument against the income levels?
I would think you need to prefer not to answer there because a lot of people won't answer your income levels.
okay. Do you mean take it off?
Yeah, I don't know if it's that important personally, but what do you guys think?
I would just be curious what we would gain by knowing that information. And then would we lose something by not having it?
Well, the only thing I can think of gain is, depending on who answers the question, or the income group that answers the questions, they may be more negatively affected by, for instance, a vehicle stop regarding safety violations, or I don't know. I don't know. Again, I saw it on other surveys, and I don't know if it's important on this. We can certainly remove it. I don't want to be probing, but
Yeah,
so,
I'm not really in favor of it personally.
all right,
You know, I don't want to dominate the thing.
Don.
I think it'd be nice to keep it simple. I think the whole thing, we want to be simple so we can open the discussion.
Okay, I'll eliminate this column when I'm done. So are we okay with these, with the age groups, 20 and under, 21 to 40, 41 to 60, and over 60? Race, ethnicity, we're good. Gender, grade level. Okay,
Yeah.
so these are the questions that were in the most recent version, with the exception of the ones I added at the end. And the one I took off that Katie thought needed to be removed. So I removed that one. And then I will probably have Jennifer or somebody that's a heck of a lot better at Word than I am make this look better.
I don't know how you all want to distribute this, but I can actually make it into a form on the website if you wanted.
That would be fabulous, because I think, and let's discuss this actually on the agenda item when we talk about the engagement with specific community groups. Remind me, I'll try to make a note of it, to discuss whether or not we want to go ahead and put this on the website as well, since we are in the COVID-19 era, and it may take us a while to get to some of the groups. Because things are going kind of crazy right now. Just ask Scott.
You can also have a printable version that we would have as well, but just that might be an easy way to drive people to it.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think that's a very useful tool on the website.
Are we talking about the whole questionnaire right now, or just what's on the screen? Because questions 5, 6, 7, I thought were kind of fun facts questions, but that maybe we'd share with the groups. I didn't really know.
Well, you know, I think part of our engagement is to, and again, you know, part of my agenda the draft agenda that I put together for the actual engagement is not only surveying folks for their opinions on how things are going and how the police department, in their view, is operating, but also some information that might be useful in their daily life.
Yeah.
Um,
I thought it'd be interesting to share that more than survey it personally, but
I think the reason that we put it on the survey is so when we go back through it, we can share it as part of our presentation at the time that we're actually going through the survey.
okay.
And it's not, 5 is not safe spot, it's actually safe place, I think. I just saw a sign on the, down the street on the fire station. So, I mean, we can take those off if you prefer. And we can then add those items to an agenda to actually discuss that and provide that information to the participants of the groups when we do our presentation.
You know, as an old teacher, if you go down through there, I used to use quizzes as an educational piece, and I've done that with community presentations too. Because when you ask them those kinds of questions, it's educational, makes them think. I kind of like that technique.
Yeah, I definitely use that technique a lot. I just, yeah, I didn't know if it would be more informal than the survey, but it's fine. I don't have a big problem with it.
If there was information you all wanted to share, like with the people who took the survey, the landing page after they submit it could include, you know, different stuff like that, if that was something you guys wanted to do.
Right.
Another way that we could look at it is if we used this initially, we could also get feedback from our first groups that we see, like, was this helpful? Did this feel engaging? Because if we get feedback and the people are saying like, oh my gosh, that was great, I didn't know, or conversely, I felt like it was too much trivia and not enough meaty information, you know, we could tweak it based on how it's received too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like question 12 to be moved up higher, much higher, because I think that's the questions on everybody's mind most.
Yeah, I added that one actually last night.
Something of that, and it maybe make it favorably or unfavorably or something, but that's what I think. If you,
I like that because it feels in keeping with what the feedback we're already getting, like what people are wanting to engage on, especially.
that's why I
Right.
thought if you move it up to like really early, like we're really prioritizing this. It was my thought, but
Let me see if I can do it.
yeah, maybe after how will we communicate and then get into it was my thought. If you guys agree.
I do agree with that. I think that's
That's what I was afraid of.
It's looking good, Kevin. You're getting it.
Go back to your arrow that takes you back.
All right.
There.
I'm
And
gonna
that-
I'm gonna stop sharing and not save it. Let me exit
Yeah.
because
let's-
I just see I'm not very good at this. So
You could also just tag it and I can move it up, you know, when we do it. And I'll bring it back to you guys to all see. Like I'd give you guys a PDF of it before anything got published.
actually, I don't know. I know we're sort of, but items 12, 13, 14, and 15, all of those I would kind of like to see moved up.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought it was an unusual choice to go 1 to 6. I always see 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, but ratings, but
well, the reason I did that is I wanted to give people a little bit,
More flexibility of range.
well, I think 1 to 10 is almost too much.
Yeah, it is.
And that's why I kind of split the difference.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if I
Yeah,
can.
I usually just think strongly agree, agree. The middle one, disagree, strongly disagree, kind of is my usual range thoughts. That's why I think in 5s, but maybe I'm over thinking it.
Now we're back. Okay, so I'll just make notes on it. So I took out the income level, and then we want to move number 12.
Maybe 12, 13, maybe that whole batch, that bottom batch, move all the way up
I mean, do you like
in front
12,
of the
13,
contact.
14, and 15? Do you like all of those questions? I mean, I literally woke up in the middle of the night last night, and I didn't want to forget.
What?
And so I came upstairs and I entered them right away.
Well, I did like them. I thought that they were, I think
So,
entered your mind for good reason because they're on our collective minds. Some of
right.
these.
So in your opinion, people who are Black are treated, circle below, is more favorable, less favorable, the same? Do you want me to change that wording?
Yeah.
We could
Just seems a
consider
little-
people of color because I wonder if like brown people also would feel the same way, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm not the one to speak to that necessarily.
Who are Black or of color?
I think people of color would be better.
What's that?
I think
Eric?
people of color would be better.
People of color instead of people who are Black?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's
You may have Hispanic or Asian who will feel
Agreed.
left out. Just
Okay. In your opinion, people of color, so I'll make that change.
maybe more favorably, less favorably. I don't know. It just seems.
If I could spell.
Yeah, there we go.
I mean, I can certainly do 10 if you want me to do 10, but I thought 1 through 6 was enough of a choice. Katie, what do you think?
Yes.
I like that. I think 1 through 6 is good.
Yeah. And then 15. And you know, this is an opportunity for us to revisit that with the community groups, is actually
Yeah.
share the use of force policy that's currently in place and has been since 2014 or 2004 or 14. So literally move 12, 13, 14, and 15 up to maybe,
Maybe the 5 spot, or at least after how do you
up
want to
to
communicate?
maybe 4. 12 would become 4, 13 would become 5, 14 would become 6, and 15 would become 7, and we go from there.
Yeah.
So is number 4 before those or after those? It's the current number 4.
Okay, number 1 is unchanged. Number 2 is in the same order. Number 3 And then number 12 would then be after number 3.
Okay.
So 12, 13, 14, and 15 would become 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then number 4 would be number 8.
Yeah.
And then we continue on through the other ones. I can't remember if I threw this one out there the last time or not, the Webster Groves Police Department 6-week Citizens Police Academy. I want people to be aware that it's available.
Well, that's why I thought it was kind of a fun fact or something to share. I don't know if it's a survey.
But it makes them think, and that's,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I want to gauge if they'd be interested in receiving additional information about it, and then that's stuff that we can post on the website.
Yeah.
If we can get people to go to the website as their first source of information, I think that will be helpful. I mean, we could put the survey results out on our website.
Yeah, because then we can, as we go to the groups, encourage that and then start sharing what we're learning by going to the groups.
Right. I mean, number 8, Scott, we learned during the Citizens Police Academy.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I feel pretty good about the survey, actually.
Yeah, I want to try it out on a few of our group leaders, maybe one-on-one. What do you think?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the agenda, and then let's talk about the initial groups that we want to reach out to, and I've got an idea I want to throw out.
Okay.
Two groups in particular that are members of the community, but not on the list, actually. Actually, one of them is on the list. So, but I kind of just literally threw out an agenda, because when we reach out and we talk to these community group leaders, I want to be able to say, this is what we intend on discussing. And so let me see if I can pull that up. I'll send this out after I make these changes, or Jennifer or somebody that's better at Word, if they can make these changes. And then I'll send them back out to everybody for the final. Let me see if I can find. So this is what I had sent out to everyone. So essentially a welcome and introduction to the panelists. To be determined, but I think it should be, I don't know if all the board members need to be at each one of these or a few. Whether you want me at all of them. And I think that representatives from the police department should be on the panel.
can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
I think it would be very cool if we could do a PowerPoint because most of this is going to be on Zoom now. And as you screen share, if we do a PowerPoint and we do the welcome and introduction, you can start out by putting people's names of everyone who's on the Police Community Engagement Board. You can put up there very easily what the charge of the board is. You can do some background information in a really clever way. And I'm pretty good at doing PowerPoint. If you figure, if we figure out what we want, I'll put one together for you. But I think that would be very cool to have that as a screen share. It's easy to do.
No, I agree. And this is not the fun. This is just literally a list. This is just a list. But yeah, I think a PowerPoint would be
very good to have that.
Would be the way to write. I mean, almost all my clients that I present to, I use PowerPoint. So,
Yeah.
but I'm just not very creative when it comes to PowerPoints.
One thing, I was on a Zoom this week and maybe everybody else is like, oh yeah, we do this all the time, but I don't do that many group Zoom, but it was a meeting where they enabled the chat function. So like as people had questions that the facilitator could just, scroll through and use the chat, like instead of people piping up on the actual Zoom box. And that seemed to work really well. I don't know, but have you guys done meetings that way?
Yes, and
Yeah.
you can also chat amongst yourselves. So you can direct your chat to a particular participant that's actually on the call. And the moderator a lot of times can see it too. We'll look at the chats. You can also raise your hand. And when we have questions and answers at the end, and I think that's how we will get comments from the participants. So, I mean, we'll have to see the technology that's available with some of the groups. I mean, that's one of the issues, is some groups are not meeting at all, even by Zoom.
Yeah.
So, and I said discuss and finalize the agenda. I don't think we need to finalize the agenda tonight, but I did want to get this out there so that people would have a chance to think about it and add items. And I really liked the small group discussions. I wasn't able to attend it, but you guys that went to the Alliance for Interracial Dignity meeting in November, and they had those 3 questions, and then they summarized it later that we went through in an earlier meeting and discussed what the small group discussions came up with. And I thought that was a really good method to get people to open up and really start discussing issues.
Yeah, I thought it worked great going there.
So, I mean, I'm looking at it right now, the small group discussion notes, and it was, what strengths do we see in our community related to safety, security, and policing? What concerns do we have in our community related to safety, security, and policing? And what are your ideas for how we can increase positive engagement between the Webster Groves Police Department and the Webster Groves community? And there were a lot of really good discussion points. Some of the items we already do, and the police department already does, and I think that would be a good thing to say. Did you realize the police department's already doing this? And this is how they're doing it, and that's where maybe the police department can talk about it a little bit during the panel discussion. So if you want me to send that back out, I can. I have everything in a binder, so I can certainly go back and either find it in my email or send it back out.
You had sent it on an email, so it's in our email list, right?
Yeah, the interesting piece would be to get the 3 questions.
Yep. Well, and it would be interesting to see the answers that were received during that panel discussion and the answers that we received during our community engagement activities. Just to see if there's, some differences or ideas that as we expand this, the same questions can be literally used multiple times depending on the situation that we're currently in.
Well, I like the list. So,
Okay.
I think what keeps going through my head is that, you know, of course we have to have a plan, but each group is gonna probably have its own agenda to a certain degree. And so we're gonna have to be kind of agile, I think, in how, and responding to the needs of each group as we are with them. That our agenda is good, but they're gonna be, like, we're gonna have to improvise as we go to a certain degree.
well,
Does that make sense?
yeah, that's what I think. Current question 4, soon to be question 8, is the open-ended one is really going to be great, and I'm going to be in note-taking mode right there.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I don't have these numbers, but review the answers to the survey and receive comments from the community group participants.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got to also remember that these can't be 2 or 3 hour meetings.
Right.
Okay. So we have to be able to limit the discussion to really, I think, no more than an hour.
Right.
You're lucky if you're going to get an hour of somebody's meeting. You know, you go to the Rotary and you're a guest at the Rotary, you're maxing 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay.
You know, you go to some of these meetings, you're maxing out at 30 minutes.
Okay.
So
unless the meeting is specifically this.
You know what might be also an interesting, like a pre-question would be like, how do you rate your group's level of interest in this board? You know, so like, I bet, you know, the Alliance for Interracial Dignity, they have a interest of 10 out of 10 probably. Or, well, you know, I don't want to flatter ourselves, but you know what I'm saying? They're highly interested. The Rotary Club might not be as interested in the work we're doing. And so the Alliance might want more time, and the Rotary might be like, I hope they get done with this in 20 minutes. So, I mean, sorry.
no, you know, I think everybody in the community is interested in policing now.
Okay.
And I think you will find that those folks in the Rotary are probably just as interested in the police department as anyone else is, but it may come from a different perspective.
Right.
That's why I kind of made these questions open-end type questions that could be literally asked by in front of any group.
Here's my question. Why are we going to give them the survey first rather than do that as an end piece? I mean, why would we do that? That will take a lot of time for people to fill that out. Then are you going to gather the data at that point? I mean,
that was discussed early on, and that's why I said in parentheses, maybe better to distribute the survey in advance of the meeting itself. So you send it to the organization and they distribute it, and people can fill it out and then submit it back. And then we have answers to the questions. That's one possible. That's what we had talked about early, because remember we talked about using Sligo and it was just too expensive.
yes.
And so that's why I put it there, is because that's what we had talked about in an earlier meeting, is that the survey would be completed, tallied, and then that would be used as part of the discussion.
Yeah, my thought was whether we meet briefly with the leaders of each of the group, just you know, each take, you know, one of us go to a couple of leaders, give them the survey to hand out ahead of time, then we tally it and we come there with results already. I didn't know if that was possible, just to make contact quickly, start asking the question of the leader of the group, see what they think would work best for their group. What do you think of that?
That sounds good to me. I think that sounds smart.
I mean, that's why I kind of put that in parentheses, maybe better to distribute in advance of the meeting. Why would you want it at the end, Jerry? Because a lot of the items, I mean, then it would really turn into a quiz because we would be talking about some of the items that are actually on the survey.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So,
So maybe you do it ahead of time. But to tally it, I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe you do that ahead of time.
Well, I mean, how many people are in each of these groups? Are you talking at most 30 to 100?
No, you're talking a Rotary meeting, maybe 35 or 40.
Yeah. I think
Some of our meetings.
we could probably do a quick tally on that.
I think I mean, can we not, like just discuss it and like worry about tallying like later? Do we have to do it like during the meeting?
I was thinking do it ahead.
I mean, I'd say either ahead or after, but not necessarily during.
Yeah, I was
well, that's
thinking.
part of it. That was one of my items in the discussion, is to review the answers to the survey. So we have to actually have a summary or tallied. Yeah.
Well, maybe it's not that big of a deal. I guess there's not that many questions. It probably could be tallied fairly quickly, I suppose.
Sorry, I just stepped out to let the dog out, but the website does on the back end tally everything up for you. Like you can see statistics of who and what happened.
Hey, Jane, can you mute your feed?
There you go. Okay, Jen, you need to
Okay, sorry.
repeat.
On the back end of the website, when people fill it out, you can do all sorts of statistics and look at what the answers are and what different, what percentages and who answered what and all that stuff. So you can go into the back end there and do that if that's what you're looking for.
Okay.
Sorry, I stepped out.
Yep. And I mean, we could certainly direct the participants to the survey on the website.
Yeah, I mean, if they're watching you guys on Zoom anyway, it's, they have some sort of way to be there.
Right. So
I think we'll learn a lot when we do it once.
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, think about the list and let me know. Please send me what you want to see discussed, what you would like to see discussed. But I think the survey is key to it. I mean, we've spent a lot of time putting the survey together, and I think it's a good survey, and it's going to be a fairly large portion of this. One, I think that people don't understand what our charge is. I mean, they really don't understand the ordinance and what we're supposed to be doing. I mean, those that have participated on a regular basis in our meetings do. I'm assuming they do, because we've shared it numerous times, but a lot of people, they don't know some of them don't know we exist. I mean, so.
I would almost be tempted to, I think your question, Kevin, was like, let you know what we want to be discussed, or I remember, Jerry, you said there's going to be almost like a listening, I forget what it's called, like a listening tour or something for the city council. And I was thinking probably a lot of our role as we're doing this is more about listening than discussing also. So like once we introduce ourselves and then kind of clarify what our charge is, I would think we could probably go straight to the survey results if we have them from that particular group, and then go into the small group breakdown, or sort of like a listening to that group's response to their own survey results. Does that make sense?
Yep. So essentially what you'd think, Katie, is number 1 would be welcome and introduction. Okay. Number 2 would be discuss the responsibility as specified in the ordinance. Number
Maybe
3 would be,
introduce ourselves and then discuss the responsibilities. Yeah.
well,
Sure.
the welcome and introduction would be,
Oh,
that's
yeah, sorry, yep.
2 would be discuss the responsibilities.
Mhm.
3 would be the survey. And then 4 would be the small group discussion questions.
Yeah.
I like it.
And if you want me to resend those, just send me a quick note to say, I need you to send me, it was the Alliance provided us a summary of all the answers to the questions that were discussed during your panel discussions. All right.
I'll mess with the PowerPoint with these.
Okey-dokey.
With your
So-
small group discussion, do we know, I mean, is there a certain reason why you're gonna break up into small groups or?
Now, I don't think we would have to, Eric. I think that those would just be 3 questions that would be asked to the larger group, to the group at large. I don't think there would, because it's very difficult to break out into groups in Zoom.
Right,
I think those 3 questions would be, you would ask a question and then listen to the responses to that question. And then we would ask question 2 and then ask question 3.
okay,
There would be no breakout groups, because it's a little different. If you're live, then yeah, I think, and depending on the number of people, then yeah, you could probably do that. But again, on some of the groups, we're not going to have the time to do that.
exactly. Okay,
I mean, in some of the groups, we may only be able to do 1 through 3. And then have a general question on how would you like to see us engage? I mean, we may be limited on time to that degree, depending on, the group that we're presenting to, and what their goals are for the presentation.
right, okay.
It's going to be slightly different, depending on the audience, I think.
I agree.
Now, let's move on to the initial groups. I kind of had a wild idea that because of COVID, there's a lot of groups that I don't think we're going to be able to meet with some of the groups we want to. Jerry, you were going to send me out, and I know you've been busy all day because I listened.
Yeah, I'll get to it.
Yeah. So as soon as I get the contact, the list of groups with contacts,
Yes.
just let's decide tonight on this. I want to start with 6. Okay. We may not start with all 6, but at least make contact with 6. And I would like to add to that 2 additional groups. One, the other boards and commissions within the city, and possibly the community conversation group.
Are you talking about the social media group or is there something?
No,
something else.
I listened in on the group, the community conversations this afternoon, and Jerry's going to report on that on item 5 on the agenda. But I listened in on that. It was a great conversation, and she'll fill you in on what's going on with it. But I sat in on most of it. I had to leave toward the end, but We can decide that later, but you know, I think that Gene, on the old Webster business district, are you involved in that?
Yeah, we do Zoom meetings once a month.
Is that the trade association?
Yeah.
Okay. And
That's
they do Zoom, so,
Yeah, well, we just started back up, so. But we just do Old Webster. We don't, Old Orchard doesn't have a group right now.
Okay. Well, I think that may be an initial, how many members do you have, Gene? Do you know?
maybe
Last
20?
meeting, I think we had 4 people on the last Zoom call, so. There's, it varies greatly from a few people to, 20, 30.
If you reached out to them, do you think that they might be inclined to participate?
Yeah, I mean, I think if, like, we could do a special, we do guest speakers once in a while. I know Jerry's been there for some guest speaking and stuff, and it's usually 20 minutes or so. But if you wanted to, I could have an involvement or have like a guest speaking thing set up for our next meeting in August. But it's at 8:30 in the morning on a Tuesday. I think it's the third Tuesday of the month or something.
Okay. I don't think we'd be able to put this together in August. I mean, that's like in a week.
Well, maybe I think it's towards the end of August is the next meeting. So I think it's at the end of August, or September or whatever.
Okay.
Gene, who's your president now?
Tim.
Tim is?
Oh,
Mhm.
Zoe Zadek, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But I can talk to the whole the board there and the officers there and everybody to do like a special session. And I'm sure people would be interested.
Okay. I think that's one group that we reach out to. Does everybody agree?
Yes.
Eric, is the North Webster Neighborhood Coalition, are they meeting at all right now?
I'm really not sure. I haven't attended their meetings in quite a while. I had a conflict with our congregation, and I kind of told them that, look, if you all are not going to go to support your own meetings, then I'm not coming out there.
No, they're not meeting.
They're not meeting? Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to still get the right contact person, and I would
I'll send you that. I
Yeah.
have that.
And Eric, I would love for you to contact them and discuss this a little bit so that they know that we would like them to be an early group as soon as this COVID-19, I mean, this will truly pass, I hope. But I just want to make sure that we reach out to this group.
Hey, Eric, do you know Lou Davis?
Who is it?
Louis Davis is their president.
I do.
Maybe between us, we can contact Louis.
Okay. Is he an older gentleman?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I think I know who he is, but I don't know him personally.
Okay, we'll figure it out. Eric and I can work on this.
Yeah, Dr. Bonner, I know, knows him, and I know Emerson does as well. So
He's the current chair.
Okay.
and then I think we should re-meet with the Alliance.
Yes.
So that would be, I mean, I don't want to make contact with the North Webster Neighborhood Coalition. I don't think we'll be able to set anything up with them at this point. But at least we can start the conversation.
Right.
I think the Alliance, I don't know if they're meeting, I'm assuming they're meeting by Zoom, but I don't know that for a fact. So Katie, can you reach out to Farrell and find out the possibility? I'm going to be gone a little bit of September, so I'm getting, if I can do it, I'm getting the heck out of town for a little while. I heard today, Eric, that Webster Rock Hill Ministries they're not meeting at this point either.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Right. And then the Rotary Club, I think that's a group that I know that they're doing Zoom.
That's going to be your easiest group to get into because they're meeting weekly by Zoom. They're very well organized. And we'll give you the contact name. I'll
Okay.
send that along with
Okay.
to you. That will be, because they do meet monthly or weekly by Zoom, that'll be the easiest group. They'll be a good test group for us too.
Well, I just want to make sure that we're organized to meet with that group as well, and any of the groups for that matter. So I think that maybe is a good, that's 4, or yeah. So there's no, that's 3. Do you want to try another one?
Well, that's 4, isn't it?
Well, North Webster Neighborhood Coalition, we're going to reach out to, but we're not going to be able to meet with them. So it would be the Old Webster Trade Association right now, the Alliance for Interracial Dignity, and then Rotary Club.
You know, you might want to think about the Webster Groves Historical Society or one of the boards and commissions, because we have 17 boards and commissions.
Right.
So you might want to think about trying one that is meeting. For example, the library board does meet by Zoom every month. And you might be able to reach out to them.
How many members are on that board, Jerry?
Maybe 8.
8, okay.
Maybe Jen would know. But they might be a good one. If you're going to talk about boards and commissions, they might be a good one to do a test with to see how that works.
What about making contact with university people I mentioned, just to get kind of some kind of youth thing going?
Are they back?
Well, I know it's questionable. I mean, I could just informally do it maybe on the side.
Yeah, why don't you kind of
Informally.
do some investigation and find out if they're not back, when?
Jennifer Starkey is their representative that works with us with a lot of meetings and boards and commissions. She was on the community conversation today. So Scott, she would be a great one to reach out to.
Okay, great.
It's Jen Starkey, and we'll provide you the contact information.
Yeah, I just think we got to get that segment.
That's the Webster University?
Yeah, she really works with us.
That's the Webster University student group?
She works with the entire university, so she could connect you with any number of groups there.
Okay. I think that's a good start. What do you think?
Yeah. I like it.
I think that's a good start too. It's reminding me though, I feel like maybe we talked about John Thomas talking or helping us get connected with high school group too, at some point.
Right.
Right.
I don't want to even do that at this point, simply because there is so much uncertainty, and schools are in flux right now because of virtual learning and all the pressures on the parents right now. There's just a lot going on with that.
What do you mean? There's no pressure. I'm just kidding.
I think that's an important group, and I think that's something that we may want to put off until this settles down a bit. That's just
I
my.
will say that maybe some of the older high school students, though, depending on how this proceeds, there might be additional time and ability to be involved or interested in something like that. It's timely for what students are interested in too.
Right. Well, maybe that will be a good recruitment tool to get a student participating on the board.
I hope so.
Because we really need that. So I'll reach out to John. I'll just send him a quick email, say, hey, can you follow up on what student groups we might reach out to have a presentation with. All right. So the item 5 is the report on the community conversations and the implicit bias, anti-racist, and systemic racism training. By way of introduction, I actually sat in on the meeting today, and I think there's another one coming up next week. I think it's during the evening next time. It was at 3:30 this afternoon. And it was a great conversation, and I'm going to go through the list of who was on the call. And Jerry, if I missed anybody, let me know. But it was Mary Welch, Jenny Starkey, Joanne Jadali, Laura Arnold, Sarah Richardson, Vincent Flewellen, Beth Strobel, Pam Bliss, Keita Quinn, Emerson Smith, and I think I got everybody.
Could be.
And so Jerry, would you like to kind of go through this group as to, I would suggest that maybe you guys listen in on this meeting the next time they have one.
We have reached out both to the university as well as the school district to talk about how we as a community could have some community conversations about diversity and equity and inclusion, and begin to explore the area. And we have met with this partnership with the university and the school district in the city. We have met 3 times. And we've actually fallen into 2 tracks. One track is a track to look at the community, and we talked about community conversations with particularly our Black residents who could help to inform us about the issues that they have faced living here. And today we talked about the fact that there have been a lot of conversations, and so we're going to begin to gather some materials and some information about the conversations and discussions and historical events that have occurred. And so that's a track that we're trying to formulate yet. The other track is a city track, and that's the city thinking about diversity, equity, and inclusion and anti-bias training for elected officials, staff, and interested board and commission members. We are out there. We met this week to talk with one provider of this kind of training. We've also learned that, for example, Dr. Banks and others are so busy right now that there's not a lot of availability for this. So, and we're also reaching out, I'm reaching out to municipalities around the state to see what other communities are doing. This is going to be a long and fairly costly endeavor on our part. And so we want to understand how to go about this in a way that will yield some long-term benefits for all of us. And so I'm telling you that because we are still in this exploration phase of what we're really going to do. The training, there are varieties of training providers. We just need to figure all of this out. So as board and commission members, hang on, because somewhere down in the future, there will be some available training. There will be training provided for all of us. It's a matter of figuring that out. We have 17 boards and commissions. To have one board go out and try to do training on their own is probably something that's near to impossible or so expensive. The one training that we're looking at just thousands and thousands of dollars. And so we need to figure out how to make that work for the city at large. So that's where we are now. We as a city will continue to discuss the track of how the city engages in training for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then we will continue along the community track. And that's where we are as of today. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
So one thing that I think is important is that it was mentioned that interested boards and commissions, I think 100% of our board would be interested.
Probably.
So, and in fact, as chairman, I would almost require it.
Well, that's a good discussion there between this mandate word and this voluntary word, because you got to think about which one of those yields the better long-term result. You know, you come down with a hammer on people and say, you have to do this. You already start out with people saying, I'm not going to do this. In some of the cities that we've looked at where it's been voluntary, people just kind of catch on and they want to do it. And so you start out with a very different framework than saying to everybody, you've got to do this.
I know. I was saying that tongue in cheek because everyone on this group is interested in doing it.
But other than Dale is sitting there, other than the police department that mandates stuff for training, which they do, it's their mode of operation. I think you have to think about what course of action you take that yields the best result.
Right. I get that.
We're in the beginning.
Yeah.
I just don't want it
to fade because I think it's incredibly important.
This is not going to fade. Nobody's going to let this fade.
As long as I'm around it, I will try not to let it fade.
Likewise, it's not going to fade. So
But I know that you had been talking with the educational equity consultants. That's the main group that you've been talking to.
Well, we've had a meeting this week with Tony Neal from the educational, whatever that group is. Yes.
Yeah, educational equity consultants. It's one of the three that Sarah Riss had sent out.
Right. And they do a lot of training. Vincent Fluellen from Webster University has been really a wonderful resource for us too. And so we need to see what's out there and what kind of model and structure of training will work best for us. That's where we are.
And I think we're finding out that the demand is so high for these types of training services right now that there's just such limited windows that you can actually fit into.
Right.
So, but I wanted that report really to everyone that it's high on my list, but we're so limited right now of what we can do at this point. But I think it's important that this community conversation now has been expanded to discuss this really important area.
Right. So I'm open for any questions you all might have. It's good work that needs to be done.
reached out.
Scott, have you done any of this training in your area?
No, it's definitely getting talked about, but no, we have not formally done it. I can definitely reach out to people at the university level. I have contacts in that zone too. That's the Washington University arena, if you would be interested.
Well, that made me
Tony
think of
Neal,
the Brown School. Would the Brown School maybe be a good resource?
Right, the Brown School and also the medical school. I know the people more at the medical school side, of course. So on diversity officers and all the training that they're doing around it and the instruction they're doing around it. So I could reach out to them and just bring it to our meeting sometime.
yeah, if you find someone who's a resource, please let us know.
Yeah.
Tony Neal said they had done a Zoom with, maybe it was some of the SLU physicians who were really concerned about what do I want to say, bias in medical treatment.
Well,
and
and
they had
yeah.
had some sort of good training.
It's hot on our minds, and that's why I shared the lead articles in the New England Journal this week with you, with the board here. It's definitely heavy on our minds. We're talking about it a lot, especially as we see COVID disproportionately affect different groups of our society that, again, follow racial and socioeconomic lines. So I think it's definitely hot on our agendas.
Yeah, it
So
needs to be.
you know, a lot of people involved with this.
Yeah, really needs to be for all of us. It just, we really, we have to think this through. We have to do something.
Yeah.
If you haven't had an opportunity to read the two articles, I read one of them in full and about 3/4 of the other one. But both of them are, I don't know, in my opinion, quite eye-opening.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, do we have any other questions or comments? And let's go ahead and set our regular meeting. Thank you guys so much for participating in the work session tonight. I know it's late, but I think it was important that we make notable progress and try to get out into the community, even though we're going to be doing it about like we're doing it right now. Looking at a computer. I think that it's important that we actually begin this process of reaching out and engaging with the community. You've been quiet tonight, Dale.
Yes.
I told you I'd be here as a resource, so.
I mean, do you agree? I won't ask you. Do you agree that a representative of the police department should be a part of these discussions?
I'd like them to be. I think it'd be, you know, possibly productive. Certainly, at the very least, to be a resource if there's questions or things that need to be answered about the police operations that somebody in the board may not be familiar with.
Right. So, I mean, I'd like to ask too, do you think it would be, and maybe when we go live, it would be better, but do you think it would be helpful for even a rank and file officer to show his face or her face?
I think I'd like for Fred, whether a command officer or myself attends, I'd like for Fred to attend as well. Because I think his perspective from being a line officer and the community engagement officer could be helpful because he sees things differently. He actually has worked the street recently and has met with a lot of the groups and the people that are in these groups that you're talking about making presentations to. So I think that would be helpful.
I think it's Katie, you know, made a really good point earlier that I think this group, a lot of it should be listening. To what the community that we're engaging with, what they have to say, especially initially. And then if we don't know all the answers, I'm certainly not opposed to saying, you know, I don't know that, but we'll get back to you. Or we'll post it. We'll post that info because other people might be interested in that same information. So anyway, anything else, anyone?
Nope.
Okay, I will what am I supposed to do here? Get the survey out. I'll send the list of the 6, I guess, organizations that we're going to reach out to. Jerry will give me contact information for those. And then I will send out, after I've tried to move things around when I'm not under the gun live on Zoom, and get the final survey questions out. And then I'll have someone at the city pretty them up a little bit.
Great. Good job.
All right. So when do we want to have our regular meeting? Shoot, I don't have my cell phone with me. I'll have to go to a paper calendar.
That's what I'm doing.
So city council will meet will they meet on September 1st, Jerry?
Yes.
So, do you want to meet back up on the 8th? I mean, that's not very long from now, and it may be essentially a recap of what we talked about tonight. Unless you could get me some agenda items, but that's only 2 weeks away. I'm going to be
No,
out.
no. The 8th of September?
Are you talking September or August?
August.
August 8th is a Saturday.
No, I'm sorry. I was on the wrong month.
You're on the wrong month,
So
Kevin.
the city council is meeting on Tuesday, August 4th.
Yes.
So we could meet on August 11th at 6:30.
That works for me.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm good.
Yeah, I was pushing my vacation already. I'm already looking forward to it. So August 11th at 6:30 will be our regular meeting.
Okay, great.
Got it.
And I will get an agenda out to everyone the week of August 3rd, early that week. And if you can, send me any agenda items that you would like discussed
Okay.
in advance of, say, by the 3rd or the 4th, so I can get them back out and get them back to Katie by Thursday the 6th. That's the latest that I like to send it to Katie, is usually on Thursday afternoon. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
All right.
You're a good group.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Barry.
Good group, guys.
Thank you.
Good work. Hey, Jen,
Yeah?
where's Wallace? Is he around?
Yeah, he's down here licking my dish from dinner.
Oh. Give him a hug for me.
I will.
Okay,
I'm
thank
hoping
you.
that Chief is coming up to shut this stall down.
Oh,
my finger.
Lord.
Well, because I can't do it.
Are you exhausted yet?
Yes, I am. I am absolutely exhausted.
This is never ending, isn't it?
It is not.
It just keeps going on and on and on. We have 4 participants. Who's our 4th? Matt.
Who?
Matt, who is an attendee, is still on here with us.
Well, I think the chief will probably come turn everything off. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. Matt has just left us.
He has left the building.
Yes, he's left.
All right.
He's left the building. So, oh my Lord. I don't know. Aren't you getting tired of these Zooms too? I had to move to that today. I can't sit in that chair anymore.
I like that they exist. Like, I'm really grateful for them, and I think that they're really good to have, but y'all are having a lot of meetings.
Yes. Yeah. Well, wish me luck as I steel myself up to call Lorna Goodwin.
Oh, good luck with that.
There's such defense for her.
Yeah.
Wow. There's something there.